Got spinning wheel. We got the spinning wheel of death. Oh, and then we're back. Welcome everybody to an unspinned wheel, the Peaceful Creativity live show. It's back. This is our first show in like a year, like 8 months, 8 months or something like this. We took a break in the summer, during when there was an opening in the lockdowns, and then since the lockdowns, we've been redefining everything we're doing, and that's why one of the reasons we want to tell you today that this show is sponsored by Three Spirits Coaching, and we're going to tell you more about that as we get into it. Today, we're talking about how to re-harmonize your life with the Three Spirits. This is a show we've been super excited about to get out there to you all because you because this model, these three spirits, something we've been working on. And we want to find out, does it resonate? Does it work? What questions do you have? These activities of these three spirits, are they going to help you? We've been testing this on ourselves and with our clients. I mean, it's really comes from a whole body of work that our whole entire coaching body of work is kind of coalesced into these three spirits. But you're going to find out more about that today. Let's say hello to Arnie.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. And yes, welcome back to Peaceful Creativity Live with Davey and Arnie. And as David said, it's been a while since we haven't done a show. So we are counting on your, love and understanding if we're a little bit rusty and if we were a tad less cool than before, but maybe we're even cooler than before. So we'll see about that. So before we get into the show and talk about how to reharmonize your life, thanks to the three spirits and who are those three spirits and what they can do for you, I'd like to remind you that this is a live show. So you can write us your questions, your remarks, the challenges that you are having live in the comment box, and we will see it here happening. And in case you want to never miss an episode of Peaceful Creativity Live, because we're going to go regularly live now every 3 weeks or so, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Peaceful Creativity and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right.
Yeah, great. So, Arno, what are you most excited about to tell the audience about these three spirits and reharmonizing your life?
Well, first of all, I'm just excited to be here live. It feels like we started this show during the first lockdown back in 2020, and I have a lot of fond memories associated with that of connection, of fun, of great discussions. So I'm excited to be here and being able to talk about the three spirits. All of it excites me because this has been such a wild ride this past maybe 6 months as we were developing this concept of three spirits. So maybe I think a way to start would be to make the connection to the last episode that we did, which was actually about the inner artist. So spoiler alerts, the inner artist is still around. We didn't scrap everything. We didn't start everything from scrap, and we just expanded our system. So maybe, David, you can tell a little bit about that, because I know that the inner artist is close to your heart and your recent adventures.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's right. We started out with the inner artist, and the inner artist is a part of us that most of us decide to let go of or push away in order to make more practical career decisions about our life. And I know I have this story. So many of the people I work with have this story where they had some type of creative endeavor, they had some type of joy in creating something. You could call it like maybe it's a traditional art like painting or writing or something like this, but also it could be something that we don't normally consider an art, just like cooking creatively, or yeah, okay, it's all right. You changed your input. Yeah, you got more space now around you. I can see
Yeah,
more of
exactly.
that picture around you. I could see you're
I
like,
couldn't breathe.
yeah. Is you wearing a turtleneck? You wearing like a sexy turtleneck today? No, you
Just for
are.
you, babe.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah, I
this
am.
is so
And
the
guys,
yeah. So the inner artist is this part of yourself that you this creative childlike wonder curiosity, exploration part of yourself that was so into creating and playing just for creation and play's sake. And most of us abandoned this part of us. We decided that we couldn't live from that part of us. That part of us wasn't going to pay our bills. We decided that that part of us couldn't be our career. We weren't good enough, in that part of us to actually make it a center of our life. And abandoning this part of us is one of the reasons why we constantly feel like this subtle sense of dissatisfaction in our lives. We can never be fully energized and engaged in our lives if we have dropped our connection to the inner artist part of us, this childlike, playful energy. And so much of the world is set up right now to deny this part of us. We live especially in the Western world, we live in a measurement focused, goal driven, step by step analytical systems world. And play does not fit into that model, because one of the definitions of play is that it does not have a ulterior motive or a goal or some purpose you're trying to get to. What play it means is you're doing something because you enjoy it for its own sake. You're playing the game just because the game is fun. And there's hardly any room for that in our responsible adult successful lives. And when we don't have that as part of our creative output and actually part of our work, we are not going to feel like we can fully enjoy ourselves. We're always going to feel like something is missing. So this inner artist is that part of us that holds that desire to create and play just for creation and play's own sake. And it's still there. Even if you have decided that, you don't really want to use that part of yourself very often and front and center in your life, that part of you is still there, waiting inside for you to reconnect with it. It's waiting inside to enliven you and give you joy in your life. And I know Arnaud and I both have stories about this. So, maybe Arnaud, you could drive it home with an example from your life.
Yeah. So the example that comes to my mind is not from my own life, although I can talk about that later. It's from the life of clients. Just to talk about how even if you repress it, your inner artists want to go out and help you and have fun and play and communicate. And the example that I have is this client who was putting all her energy on her peace finder, which is the spirit we're going to talk about in a moment, because we're going to present you the three spirits today, just to make the agenda clear. We jumped into the inner artist because that's the one we talked about in the past, so to make the junction, but then we're going to present the two others. So she was putting all her energy in her peace finder, which is the spirits that help find peace and recenter and be calm and work on our inner world. But she was doing that because she was afraid of going out there and express herself and express what she really wanted. So after we kind of freed her inner artist and she started to train every day to express what she wants, this crazy childlike dream that she had and that she was afraid to bring to the world, well, it kind of materialized in her life, and she got the promotion, she entered the development program of her company, but also she felt much more confident because she was not afraid to express herself anymore. And that's one of the power of the inner artist. As David said, the inner artist is the childlike energy. I can tell you, they don't care, about if you're talking, they don't care if it's the right subject. They want to say something, they're just like screaming it in your face in the middle of sentences. And there's a part of us that still wants that, but we hide behind societal norms, being polite and things like that. And we tend to overdo it to the point that we don't say what we want to say. We don't say it to our spouse, we don't say it to our boss, we don't say it to our friends, and we compromise, and it hurts. Because it accumulates, and there's this sense of frustration and prison. The inner artist is here to free us from that and to help us say what really matters to us. And so expression is really strong for the inner artist.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it's also about play and full expression. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Mm.
So, how would you recommend people start to get in touch with this part of themselves?
Yeah. So the I mean, I was there. There is a variety of ways, but this morning I was writing down a new exercise I didn't tell you about yet. So we'll see if it passes the David's test. Uh, it's about, but I'm pretty sure it will because it's about dancing. So I was working and I was super focused. I was like, oh, this is so important what I'm doing. Yeah, oh man, come on, I'm so productive right now. But I noticed that there were tensions that were accumulated in my body. So I was like, okay, I need to relax and I need to have fun. So I called the inner artist. And I like to listen to drum and bass when I work. And at some point, I don't know if I called the inner artist or if the inner artist took control, but I started to dance, like this in my on my on my armchair, and as I was dancing, making these crazy moves because I don't know how to dance, I started to judge myself. So the adult part started to look at myself and be like, what are you doing? You're dancing like a douche on your armchair. What if someone opens the door? You will look stupid. And I was like, don't care about that. Just enjoying the moment, pure fun, no judgment, just doing what I want to do. And I was expressing myself through dance, basically. And that's something really anyone can do almost anytime. Just put some energizing music and just do some silly moves, accepting the fact that this is a bit silly, that this looks a bit weird, and that if you were to be seen, that people might say stuff. But as your inner artist, as the child within you, you don't really care. What if they think weird stuff about you? Or just talk about it. Both of you guys will have a laugh, and that's it. So that's an easy way to reopen the door for fun, for play, for uncensored expression in your life.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Because we haven't talked about it before, David. So we have live reaction from David. What do you think?
I like it a lot. I think the dancing is so underrated, and actually, doing a silly dance actually changes what your nervous system is doing. I mean, there's science behind this. This isn't just like a frivolous exercise. It's really hard to be stressed and do a silly dance at the same time. Like, you can very quickly change your state, because when you have stress and when you're really focused on something, you're trying to crunch something out, your brain is getting into survival mode. Your brain is basically, stress is basically a reaction from your brain, like you're not safe. You have to be on guard. You have to protect yourself. You have to defend yourself. And if you were ever in a survival situation, one thing you would probably never do is a silly dance. That would stop no predator from eating you. So when you do a silly dance, the body is communicating to the brain, we are actually safe now. We are actually not in danger now. And you can stop the stress circuit that's happening in your brain. So I've actually done this exercise with corporate in the corporate world. When I was doing live sessions with people, there was a lot of times we would arrive to a meeting. I mean, I haven't done this virtually yet, but I should. There's no reason I can't. When people arrive to a meeting, sometimes you go around the room and you just check the temperature of how everybody is arriving. It's one of the most important ways to start a meeting, to get some emotional content right in the beginning. And if everybody, if most of the people arrive at the meeting saying, I'm feeling stressed, so much is on my mind, we're not going to have a productive meeting. We're not going to be able to actually open ourselves to the learning we're trying to have in those sessions. So I have to switch people's state. And the way I have done this in the past is you get everybody to stand up and do a silly dance. And sometimes I have led them in the silly dance moves. You just make it a game. Like, like now you're doing the shopping cart, now you're mowing the lawn. Now you're doing something from like a Bollywood movie. You know what I mean? And it changes completely the entire energy in the room, the entire stress levels of everybody. Now, all of a sudden they're more present, they're more open and flowing, they're more playful. So I think that exercise is great. I used to do this technique called dream dancing, which
Mm.
I think, this is definitely an inner artist technique, but we didn't have the inner artist back then. This is something that I did for myself every morning during my morning routine, like a few years ago. And what I would do is I would, instead of just saying what was exciting me for that day, instead of like just looking at my goals list or my to-do list or what I was trying to work on in my life, bigger picture, I would actually dance it out. I would put on some like kind of tribal shamanic music, and I would actually do dance moves that expressed in my body what felt best to me that day. Like what my heart was saying, what my dreams were about my life, I would express it in my body. And it totally changed, my state, my energy, it had a lasting effect on the whole day about how those things were in my mind and how my actions connected with those things. So I think there are so many ways to use, dancing. And the inner artist is, well, all of the three spirits that we talk about have a very embodied component, but one of the things I don't really, so much of the coaching world and so much of the personal development world is just all in your head. It's just all mental exercises, and that's just missing an entire part of our being. And it's missing one of the main ways we learn. We have to get this stuff in our bodies and do this stuff in our bodies. So, embodiment, it's a whole field now. It's getting more and more support all the time, scientifically and professionally. So this idea of embodiment is essential to having the energy of these three spirits come through in our lives so that we can use these powers. So it's great exercise. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And yeah, of course, I remember you telling me about your experimentation with the dream dance, which is another version of that. Since, talking about embodiment, I think is the perfect segue to one of the other spirits that you are the specialized of, which is the peace finder, because you have I help people reconnect with their peace finder, but you have more experience than me, and you have other techniques that are very interesting and very effective. Especially regarding embodiment, I'm thinking about happening now. So can you tell a little bit about the Peace Finder and how it can help people, and some example from you and your clients?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So, by the way, I appreciate what you said about somehow my connection to the Peace Finder, but as we say, Arnaud and I say all the time to our clients, all of these three spirits live within you already. On a deep level, you know how to access all these energies in your life and do all these things. It's just mostly a matter of remembering and reconnecting with them. So I don't think I particularly have any extra Peace Finder stuff, but I am very, very attracted to the Peace Finder. It's one of the, it's the one that flows most easy for me in my life. And, yeah. And the main idea about the Peace Finder is finding that center, finding that energetic center inside yourself that is still, that is quiet, and that is aware and alert, but silent and observing. It's the being state that we all are and can all access. And most of the time, we're running around focusing so much on what we're doing, that we miss actually what's underlying all of that doing, what's actually the foundation of who we are. And there's an amazing peace there. It's hard for us to access that peace most of the time because not only because of the doing, but also because we have all these layers on top of that peace. And these layers come in the form of emotional traumas we experience. They come in the form of beliefs about who we are, about what we're capable of in the world, about how the world works. There are all these things going on in our system in terms of emotions and traumas and thoughts and beliefs that are not peaceful. A lot of discord, a lot of disharmony, and dis-ease and resistance. And all of those things stop us from experiencing this still peaceful place. And this still peaceful place is one of the things that we kind of invite into our experience when we meditate, when we practice mindfulness, when we do deep breathing, we do breath work exercises. It's like Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, I'm not sure how to say his last name anymore, but he's pointing to this place all the time in us. And I mention him because he's a very well-known, popular spiritual teacher, but he's pointing to this place all the time in us that is just resting in the present moment. And there are many techniques to access this place. But speaking of embodiment, one of the quickest way to get to this place is to go into the body. And it's to do the deep breathing. A lot of people like the Wim Hof method because it brings you into that present moment state, and it brings you into a kind of a silence in your mind as you're practicing the breathing and really focusing on that. And then the body feels so much different when you're done because of also the oxygenation. Also, there's a book that Arnaud and I really like called The Presence Process, which is a 10-week program for basically doing a breathing exercise in 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, and holding certain ideas in your mind while you do it so that you stay really rooted in the present moment. And you learn so much about who you really are, how your body and emotions work, how your actual healing and what's stopping you from feeling peace in your life. So often Arnaud and I will talk about emotional processing, which is simply applying presence and awareness and acceptance to your own emotions. Instead of trying to escape them or fix them or decide they're a problem, just whatever emotion you're having, letting it fill up your body, letting yourself experiencing it in your body, finding where that emotion is centered in your body and just breathing there and feeling there and noticing it's an energy that's moving in you. This process by itself, and we have tools to do this, we have other shows specifically about that, but those kind of processes literally show you that all the things that are stopping you from having peace are actually things you can start to bring peace to and let move through you. And they don't have to derail you so much. And you can kind of be this still center no matter what is kind of happening in your field or around you. This is what the Peace Finder teaches us.
Yeah, awesome. I love the way you explained that. This is, and it's great that you corrected what I said, that you're the specialist of the Peace Finder. We all have them inside of us, but some of us vibe more with one spirit, some of us with another spirit. For example, my natural inclination is the Flowmaster that I'm going to talk about in a moment. And probably the one that I need to spend the most time with is the Peace Finder. And the way I know it is that when I do restrain my Flowmaster and go more into Peace Finder territory, I feel better and I'm also more productive, paradoxically. So finding the stillness, doing the breathing exercises. Actually, okay, let me talk a little bit about the Flowmaster, and then we can maybe, if you agree, talk about how the spirits work together in certain cases.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay, so we've talked about the inner artist, fun, explosive, innovation, childlike energy, trying stuff, art, creation, creativity. We've talked about the Peace Finder, recentering, spending time in our bodies without judgment, just observing what's going on and being there, being present through meditation, emotional processing, breathing, etc. The third spirit is called the Flowmaster. And what the Flowmaster does is he reorganizes your life so that energy can flow and so that your whole life flows, really. So this is the spirit in charge of your calendar, of your productivity tricks, whether it's using Pomodoro or making prior list of to-dos. But this is also the spirit in charge of the vision, your long-term vision, 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 3 months from now. And it is the one that I tend to spend most time with, because that's a very reassuring spirit as well, because it gives us, the words why shook last year, and it's like, what's going on? There's no certainty anymore. That's the spirit that gives me, at least, and several of my clients, this illusion of certainty. And illusion of certainty is useful because it makes us feel more at peace, paradoxically. So it prepares the field for the peace finder so that we can really experience that. So the Flowmaster exercises, as I was mentioning earlier, start with a clear vision on what you want to do in your life. Sometimes we push it all the way towards the moment you die, what will it say about your life, and then we work backward to define how are you going to be deserving of this end of life reward. Oh, I just heard some weird Skype sounds.
I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything on my end.
Okay, all right. So that was probably one of the spirits connecting through technology. And then we kind of reverse engineer that, and we define, the plan of your day, the priority for the week, what matters, what don't matters, what can you cut out of your life.
I'll just continue a little bit about the Flowmaster. Arnaud was talking about how there are things in your life, and that there are priorities in your life, but there are things you need to cut off. Otherwise, your flow is going to be too diffuse. And the Flowmaster helps you make these channels of life force to flow through you, so that you can really work and create the life that really feels good to you, and that your energy is going toward the things that are actually the most important to you and the most beneficial to you. So as you hear these three spirits, the Flowmaster creating these channels for your real priorities, by the way, the Flowmaster can create these containers, a container for spending time with the peace finder, a container for spending time with the inner artist. So the Flowmaster is creating these containers where your values, your priorities, what's important to you flows through your life. And that includes how you set up your environment to support those things. And then the peace finder is that center, finding that peace within you to embrace and accept yourself and whatever's happening, and to work with that. And then the inner artist is that creative, playful, joyful, curious child wonder part of you. So while I try to get back Arnaud on the call here, think about for yourself, which one of those, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's go with that. On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I? 10 is I have maximum connection, maximum experience of the spirit in my life. And give yourself a 1 to 10 for each of the three spirits. Where are you? 1 to 10 for Flowmaster, 1 to 10 for Peace Finder, 1 to 10 for the inner artist. So how did you rate yourself? Which spirit is strongest for you? Very often, the spirit that's stronger for us, we actually overuse. For example, let's say me, the peace finder, is strongest for me. Maybe sometimes if I get in like a stressful or tricky situation, or some disruption or change happens in my life, I might default to the peace finder. All right, guys, the tech is not working right now. We're going to have to cut the show, but we're going to be back. So we're going to go now and come back later in a future show. We've given you enough. You've rated the three spirits. Find out which one you need to work on most. Come to our website, threespirits.com, and you will be able to get some tips on how to increase your level of three spirits in your life. So we hope that was useful for you. See you next time.
Okay. Bye, guys.